Well, I was initially invited by a theater company in Beijing to come and direct a Shakespearean play in Chinese. And of course, I didn't speak a word of Chinese at the time. And sadly, I'm not too much more fluent in the beautiful language now. And I met a China's preeminent Shakespearean scholar, Professor Cheng Jiaosheng, from the dean of the School of Foreign Languages at Peking University. And he'd been teaching Shakespeare in university in China for many, many years. And he said he felt that he had never done quite the job he wanted to do because he thought Shakespeare needed to be seen and performed and felt, physically and vocally. And he asked if I would come and work with some of his students. So I agreed to do that in between these other two plays, and we put up an audition notice at the university, and 4,000 students came to audition for the part. We were doing a production of The Tempest, and I almost got on a plane to go back to America because it was just overwhelming. And I saw, I think, 800 of the students over the course of a week. One thing led to another, and Professor Chan and the government and myself formed this institute, which is the Institute of World Theater and Film. And this happened over the course of a couple of years to get all the bells and whistles of getting this organized and approved. And it has a threefold mission. We produce a lot of plays in China, professional plays, very often mixing Eastern and Western theater artists and technicians, as you yourself were involved in your splendid work, I might add, as Kent in our production of King Lear. So we do those plays, and then I also bring a lot of plays from China to other countries and bring plays from other countries to China. So it has those two missions. And then the third mission is developing theater departments, performing arts departments in mainland universities where none exist. So you've got millions of passionate, talented kids, but they have no means of artistic expression with guidance of any sort. So that's what the Institute is about, and that's how it all got started. Well, it's a very a very interesting phenomenon that's taking place there. China, socially, economically, and geographically, is such a mixture, because you have, I believe it's 45 cities with populations of 10 million or more. And then you have lots of provincial areas that are very nearly still third world. But in the cities, in the metropolitan areas, there's enormous amounts of wealth and new wealth, and entrepreneurship is encouraged and supported and is absolutely flourishing. And with that comes people who are seeking cultural experiences, entertainment experiences, and so the film, television, theater, the arts in general, dance, concerts, all of those things are absolutely sort of exploding. But very often I'm hired by independent sources to direct or produce or both a play for commercial endeavors, and without failure, all of those have been very successfully commercially. Not always from my standpoint successfully artistically, but commercially, because there's a huge expanding and really, I would say, exploding market for those. Even though in many areas very sophisticated things, both artistically and certainly economically and scientifically and socially, are going on in China, there's still an almost overwhelming interest in things from the West. includes in particular theatrical pieces from the West, musicals, comedies, those kinds of things that are often used here as strictly money-making endeavors. There, they are certainly entities that can reap fiscal gain, but they're also looked at as art. Having been in China now for 9 years and having done 50-something plays all across China, all across the mainland, as well as Hong Kong, Taiwan, and Macau, I've gained a great deal of knowledge about the market. And then I've often taken plays on tours to Shanghai, to Guangzhou, to Xi'an, to Chongqing, larger cities. There's an almost endless audience, but you have to move it around. As I was talking to you about the arm of the Institute, the mission of the Institute that deals specifically with young, passionate, quite often innately gifted students.
Dia aide en Angleterre. Et du bien parle le langage. Un peu, madame.
I've helped organize this thing called the National Chinese University Shakespeare Festival, which this year, it's in its 6th year, will involve 250 mainland universities. And this thing just keeps expanding. There are literally hundreds and hundreds of kids that I've worked with over the years, and they're native Chinese students and usually a professor, a Chinese professor who is fluent in English, who will act as their director, and they're putting together Shakespeare plays. And they've never had any experience. Many of them have never even seen a play. There are, I think, it's 45 now students who have graduated from Chinese universities who have now gone into MFA acting, directing, or set design programs in America and Great Britain, having been bitten by the theater bug. Them getting a chance to be exposed to that and realizing that that is an important way to spend one's life. And as we are developing these theater department in various departments in various universities, the need for trained teachers as well as professional actors and directors and writers and technicians begins to expand.
The the billboard, ainsi déjà, terrible. The Nick and the Sink.
They're sort of the preeminent university in China, so when they began something, every other university in China tries to follow suit. So my hope has been, when we get the theater department started in Peking University, there are about 70 other universities that I've been dealing with who are all interested in starting these things, and that work is just almost overwhelming. But next fall, in 2011, we will begin officially the theater department at Peking University, which will be the first ever in China.